Hey everyone, today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 werewolf movies. Now, there are some movies on here that feature monsters other than werewolves, and I will only be including them if the werewolf is in the title or if the werewolf or werewolves are, like, as important as the other monsters. I'm making these rules up as I go, so there might be some movies that technically count that I'm not including because arbitrary reasons and we're all human and yeah. None of these movies are brand new, so I'm just going to put out a general spoiler alert. Starting off, my number 10 is Underworld. This is one of those instances where, yes, the main character in these movies is a vampire, but the movies are also about werewolves, so I'm counting it, because the werewolves are integral to the plot. The acting is pretty good overall, nothing to write home about, but nothing awful. The action is fine. There are a few too many quick cuts for my taste, but it's not incomprehensible. A lot of it does ride on rule of cool, though. Like with Celine spinning in a circle and shooting a hole in the floor, when really, like, even if you were trying to get down that quickly, there had to be a better way to do it. One that is both faster and requires using less ammo. Although considering I don't think we ever see anyone reload in these movies. Or if we do, I don't remember. So, for all I know, everybody just has unlimited ammo. Anyway, so the action is pretty good overall. However, my problem with the action is that it's too much of werewolves and vampires shooting at each other in human form, and not enough of werewolves and vampires ripping each other apart. There is some of that, just not enough. I do like the aesthetic. It helps the movie stand out to an extent. It's well shot, the music is pretty good. My score is 3 out of 5. And number 9 is The Wolfman, 2010. This one is good. From a writing standpoint, it does all of the things that a remake should. It keeps the core of the original, it expands on it, and it doesn't play things exactly the same. It changes things up, and I like that. Unfortunately, the execution isn't the best. Most of the acting is solid, but Anthony Hopkins seems to be phoning it in. The CGI isn't great, but, you know, for 2010, it's not that bad. And some of it's actually pretty good. The practical effects are great. Much like with Underworld, I love the aesthetic. The music is good. It's well shot, well edited. The choreography for the fighting is on point. It was directed by Joe Johnston, and he's always been a pretty good director, so he does a pretty good job here.
What happened? It's the devil! The devil!
don't know, the movie just kind of falls short as a whole. It's kind of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, where it looks great, and it's well made and all that, but it ultimately just feels a little hollow, and it kind of just feels like an unnecessary remake. Or at least a remake that doesn't really justify its own existence, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's hard to put into words. But not numbers. My score is 3 out of 5. My number 8 is Werewolf of London. This is a very different movie from the 41 Wolfman, but it's still really good. The biggest drawback is that the makeup effects for the werewolf are surprisingly tame. Like, he's still pretty much just human, but with, like, fur on his face and hands and pretty much just... It's weird seeing such a human-looking werewolf. I don't know if it was because of limitations of technology at the time, and maybe the 6-year gap before the Wolfman saw a big increase in the makeup technology, or maybe they just didn't have the budget to pull off their vision, or maybe this is what they were going for the whole time. I don't know. I haven't seen a whole lot of behind-the-scenes stuff for this movie, so who knows? Aside from that, this is a well-crafted thriller. Aside from the werewolf makeup, the other effects are on point. The acting is solid for the time. The script is pretty tight. The music is very, very good. What really sets this movie apart from both The Wolfman and a lot of other werewolf movies is that it takes a more scientific approach to lycanthropy. I mean, it's still fantastical, but like, there's more science mixed in.
We must seize the only specimen of the Mariphasa plant in England. That flower is the only known antidote for werewolfery.
A very interesting folk tale, but of no value to the police.
I warn you, sir, unless you secure this plant, there'll be an epidemic that will turn London into a shambles.
When my experiments are completed, I will show their results to the entire world. Not before.
Remember this, Dr. Glendon. The werewolf instinctively seeks to kill the thing it loves best.
It's like playing D&D as a race that has a super low body temperature and having them use hollow mercury arrowheads filled with poison so that they melt inside of a warm body. You know, putting a little science in your fantasy. But yeah, we have the botanist protagonist trying to find a cure for his condition. It's a very compelling story, and it's a bit of a shame this movie was overshadowed by The Wolfman. Don't get me wrong, The Wolfman is better, but this one's pretty damn good too. My score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 7 is Wolf Cop. Where do I even start with this movie? No, I'm genuinely asking. Where do I even start? This movie is insane. But like in a good way. We have our hero who is not a very good cop, and I'm talking by movie cop standards, not by real life standards. He is bitten by a werewolf and discovers that there's some evil shit going on in town and tries to become a better person, one transformation at a time. This movie is not really much of a horror movie. It's more action comedy that kind of loosely follows the format of a superhero origin story. The acting is solid overall. The practical effects for the werewolf are fantastic. But yeah, this movie is ridiculous, bizarre, entertaining as hell. I shit you not. Our main character gets to have a sex scene while in wolf form. Yeah, it's that kind of movie. The humor mostly works. The action is pretty good. Individually, there aren't really any aspects of this film that are great on their own. But when you combine them all together, the end result is just genuinely great.
I know what you're thinking, and I approve. Fuck yeah.
A score is 4 out of 5. Number 6 is Werewolves Within. This movie does a great job of finding a good balance between horror and humor. We have a talented cast, and they're all playing memorable characters. The film is well crafted from a technical standpoint.
Okay, everyone, hey, can I have your attention, please? Find our way home. Between the power outages and the storm, the whole Emerson thing, I think we can all agree that it's unsafe outside and there's safety in numbers. So maybe we
should stay here tonight. All right. Okay, that's what
I'm with you. Yeah, I don't want to go out and get 8.
Same. Janine, you got room. You can put us all up, can't you?
No, it's just a high floor. Thank you so much, Jen. Some people would have to double up.
Well, I mean, I think that'd be fine. Right, Cecily?
Okay, slow down.
Out of curiosity, who is packing?
I am, yes, sir, America.
Well, we're packing, dog.
Wow.
I have Dave's hunting rifle, if that would be helpful.
Oh, gosh, I almost forgot. I got, it's teensy, it's just a little, it's a first gun.
Excuse you.
Okay. I think we should keep a gun in every room, just to be safe.
The biggest problem is that it starts out feeling like Mafia, or Among Us, or a werewolf game, or whatever your version of it is called. It starts out like that, but then they never fully forget about that, but they kind of start to focus on that less as the movie goes on. And then, especially as we get closer to the climax. It's a little disappointing. But, it doesn't ruin the movie. There's some solid misdirection as to who is the werewolf or werewolves. It's never boring, which is always important. From a purely aesthetic standpoint, the snowy setting kind of gives it a 30 Days of Night feel, but it also has just a very different tone that helps it not feel too much like that movie. The score is 4 out of 5. Number 5 is Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. This was the first time Universal attempted a monster mash, and the results were genuinely great. Lon Chaney Jr.'s performance here is one of his best as Larry Talbot. And since this movie is more of a Wolfman movie than a Frankenstein movie, we get to spend plenty of time with him as he anguishes over his curse. As far as Frankenstein goes, Bela Lugosi is great, and the film as a whole is a big step up from Ghost of Frankenstein. I'm still not a fan of the blind monster, but I don't really mind it. It works well enough. I don't know, I prefer my Frankenstein's monster to be able to actually see things. The script is tight, the set design is on point, and the music is solid. And honestly, by 1940s standards, the action is pretty damn good. The score is 4 out of 5. Number 4 is The Wolfman, the original. This movie is about 70 minutes long. In that time, it manages to establish about 5 or 6 reasonably well-developed characters: Larry, Sir John, Gwen, Maleva, Bella, and arguably Frank Andrews. And it is not only a story about a man who gets bitten by a werewolf, but also a story about the complex relationship between an estranged father and son, a story about the dual nature of man, a really sad love story,
Gwen, I'm going away.
Away? But why?
I gotta go. I can't stay here any longer.
Oh, let me go with you. I'll fetch a few things and be back in a minute.
No. I'm going alone.
But I can help you.
You wouldn't want to run away with a murderer, would you?
Oh, Larry, you're not. You know you're not.
I killed Bela. I killed Richardson. If I stay around here much longer, you can't tell who's gonna be next. Wait. It might even...
Please. I've still got the charm you gave me, remember?
Yeah, I know, but I'm afraid.
And a pretty solid psychological thriller / mystery. It's one of the most tightly plotted movies ever made, but it gets almost no love in that regard on account of being mostly known for being the first great werewolf movie. My score is 4 out of 5. Number 3 is Dog Soldiers. Neil Marshall has had a weird career, but I think he's at his best in the horror genre. Because, I mean, you have this movie and Descent, which are both great. You have Centurion, which is pretty good. You have Doomsday, which is awful, but fun if you don't take it seriously. And then there's the Hellboy reboot, which is probably the worst of the bunch. I know he's done more movies than that, those are just the ones that I've seen. Dog Soldiers is one of the best action horror movies ever made. You have a group of British soldiers on training exercise who find themselves having to fight werewolves. It's awesome. The acting is all good, if not great. The script is tight. The music is pretty good. The cinematography is on point. The editing uses quick cuts, but not as many as would become popular in the wake of Bourne.
To your rear! Target! Target! Covering fire! Flanking position! Assembling us! Covering fire!
The makeup and prosthetics and all that for the werewolves look fantastic. You don't get to see them much at first, but you get to see them more as the movie goes on, and they look great. The actors all do a solid job. The characters are all very memorable. Especially Spoon. That dude was a badass.
You fucking mother!
I hope I give you the shits, you fucking wimp.
And I like that in all this silly little action horror B movie, they still have characters with actual depth and development. My score is 4 out of 5. Number 2 is Ginger Snaps. This is such a unique movie that I don't even know where to begin. It's a very interesting blend of horror, nihilism, and a satirical take on teenage life. Like all the best monster movies, it's not just about the monsters, it actually has something meaningful to say. Emily Perkins, Catherine Isabelle, Chris Lemche, and Mimi Rogers are all great, especially the leads. Those two have such great chemistry. The way their story wraps up is bittersweet, let's just say. The cinematography is very good considering the fairly low budget, and ditto for the actual werewolf effects once we get to that part.
Get up! Come on, get up!
And I like that this movie plays around with the rules of lycanthropy a little bit, like how it spreads, what the effects are, and so on and so forth. There's not much action in this one, it's more about the characters, and I think it really works. My score is 4.5 out of 5. Finally, my number 1 is An American Werewolf in London. John Landis created something truly special here. This movie is a seamless blend of horror and comedy. The acting is great, the practical effects are outstanding. Like with Ginger Snaps, this is very character-driven rather than action-driven, and it works. You know, even if you haven't seen this movie, you probably know of its reputation, and it earns that reputation. It is so damn good. The transformation sequence is like one of the most iconic scenes in all of horror, and an argument could be made for cinematic history, period.
Someone I really care for. Then suddenly there appeared before me the only one. Then I heard somebody whisper, please adore me. And when I looked, the moon had turned to gold. Help me! Please! Help me!
I didn't mean to call you Meatloaf, Jack!
There's a reason so many more recent werewolf movies have tried to emulate this one. The score is 5 out of 5. Hey everyone! What are your favorite werewolf movies? Let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe and all that. If you don't like the video, tell me why. You know, offer up a little constructive criticism. Then subscribe anyway, so you'll be notified when I upload another video, and then watch that video and tell me either why that one sucks, or where I've improved, or both, whatever the case may be. As will be mentioned down in the description, I have a Patreon, and now I am finally actually uploading exclusive content there. Starting out, I'm just going back and reacting to some of my first tribute videos, seeing how well they hold up, or don't, and just, you know, talking about like behind the scenes stuff and my thoughts and my thought process in the making of them, if I can even remember. So yeah, it's only a few dollars a month. I have 2 tiers. The first tier is just you have access to the exclusive content. The second tier is you can request commissions. Specifically, commissions for tribute videos, because that's all I'm going to do for now. Maybe I'll do other stuff in the future, but so far, if you're going to commission something, it has to be a tribute video. Pick a franchise or a character, or basically something with 3 movies or more. Or hell, even if it's just a common theme, like anti-heroes. I mean, okay, obviously come to me with a list of movies, not just the theme. And then also pick a song, and we can iron out the details as needed. That's all for now. Stay safe in these crazy times.